Thank you. Thank you so much for coming here. And let's start with a brief introduction about you. Please introduce yourself to the people watching.
Sure. So my name is Nidhi, and I'm the founder of Setugram. I am a textile designer by qualification and a career counselor, and of course, founder of Setugram by profession. I started my journey long back as a textile designer, but as I grew, there were a lot of changes that took part in my career journey. And yeah, here I am today, founding Setugram and helping a lot of students out there finding their dream path and dream career.
That's absolutely amazing, and we'll be surely looking forward to explore a lot more about Setugram and your journey as the interview proceeds. Okay, so let's start with the very first question. So, tell us something about the career in textile, fashion, and the different types of design. How does it actually work?
The design industry is initially when I started my journey as a designer, it wasn't considered as a mainstream career, of course. I was told that, okay, you're doing this, maybe this is a hobby, what are you going to do? But not so anymore. In fact, even if you see Google, if you see the biggest of companies, everybody needs a designer, right? Be it a product designer, a packaging designer, a graphic designer, you name it, and you need designers. Everybody needs designers these days, right? So there are plethora of options available for designers. Uh, Especially if you ask what are the options for textiles and fashion designers, again, you and me, we are using textiles, we're using fashion every single day. So every person needs a designer, be it your home products, be it your the clothes that you wear, anything and everything. A designer is needed to design them to bring them to you. So there are a lot of career opportunities available right there. But yes, a person needs to know how to begin and where to get those opportunities, and that's where we come in place at Setogram. We help them how to find those opportunities.
All right, that's quite interesting because the need of designers is really, important in this era. Anywhere,
Yes.
like anybody, anywhere will need a designer. So, how does your journey actually started of being a design career counselor?
So before being a design career counselor, I was a design faculty. I was teaching fashion design students. Of course, I was teaching textile as a subject. Then COVID hit, and we were all stuck at home. There were a lot of students of mine who used to message me that, ma'am, we are passing out this year, and there is nothing that we can do. And I was astonished that there are so many things that you can do. It's not that nothing, but I realized there was a huge gap that we are not, as design faculty. Also, I realized we were not giving them enough knowledge on how to leverage their skills. So that's the gap in the industry that Setugram is trying to fill, and that's how my journey of career counseling began. Uh, Thanks to COVID, of course.
Yeah. All right. So on the similar lines, as you are the founder of Setugram, as you mentioned, so how does it actually bridge the gap in the design industry, and how does it, cover all the loopholes which are there?
So there is a huge gap in the design industry, and I'm sure everyone belonging to the design fraternity will agree with me as what I have seen. So, what is the gap here is between what you are being taught and what is needed out of you, right? So, the acquired skills and the required skills. There's a huge gap between these two, and that is what we try to fill by encouraging them to learn what are the required skills. A college or the institute or your design school is teaching you what are the skills that you acquire by learning the course that you pursue, but there are furthermore things that an industry requires. Design industry is volatile, it's changing every day, but of course there is only so much a design institute can do. So they can teach you a basic, but what do you do with those basic skills is something that we tell them, and that's how we bridge the gap. So I would not say there are loopholes, but yes, there is a gap which needs to be filled, and that is what we are doing. We are bridging that gap.
That's quite interesting, and I can see already, a lot of aspiring designers and who want to establish themselves in this career. They actually reach out to you, and they, the kind of seek guidance, and then go through and flourish in this industry for sure. Okay, so give us some insights into the challenges and the career of design, and how do you actually mentor the aspiring designers to, overcome and just create an everlasting impact in the world of design.
Everybody wants to create an everlasting impact, be it a designer, be it a person in, in even in our personal lives. That's what we want to do. We want everybody else to remember us. And when I say remember, of course, in a good way, right? So when it comes to career, I wouldn't focus on design career here, but I would speak in general. Um, you have to observe and see what is it that you can do the best. You have to understand your own self the best way. And that is how I help the people who come to me for career counseling. The first and foremost question that I get asked is, how do we start? Where do we begin? That's the biggest challenge that they face. So you know what you want to do, maybe, but you don't know how should you do it, right? So there are a few things that you need to keep in mind is where will you begin? So for example, if there is no job vacancy, where will you, and you are looking for one, you are looking for a job right now where there's no job vacancy. Where do you find that job? So you can actually go and create that job. Of course, that doesn't happen in day one, and it takes a lot of groundwork. But that's what I teach to people who come to me, that there are a lot of things that you can do. You can create a lot of opportunities for yourself by just networking, by just leveraging the power of social media. So yeah, that's about it. So where to begin and how to go about it, one step at a time, and being consistent. These are the few things that I always tell my students.
Right, definitely just go out and explore yourself as much as possible.
Yeah,
And even if there aren't opportunities out there, just create it for yourself. That eventually works the best. All
yeah.
right. So, as you mentor designers for resume building as well, so what are some of the elements which can make their resume stand out from the rest of the crowd?
So first, before I answer your question, I would like to answer it a little differently. A few things which you should not be doing. So there are a lot of students whose resume, like I go through like hundreds of resumes every single day, but yeah, the cringe-worthy factor, what I see, is work experience. So everybody starts somewhere, right? It's okay not to have any work experience, but do not put anything and everything under the work experience section. So if you have assisted your seniors in a show, in a fashion show, or you've assisted your own batch at in the backstage, or for a show, or for a design festival, or anything like that, that is not a work experience. Please understand that that's a learning experience. So your title could be a learning experience, but it is not a work experience, right? You haven't really learned anything. You could not display your skills. You were told something, and that's what you did. So it's a learning experience. You saw a few things, you learned a few things, you did a few things. It's not equivalent to a work experience. So that's one thing. Apart from that, in India, two languages are kind of course, you are supposed to know, right? So English and Hindi. So mentioning that in your resume is something that I wouldn't appreciate. So I would say that it's okay to just avoid that. And if you belong to a particular region and you're specifically mentioning that I know Marathi, or I know Bengali, or I know Gujarati, or for that matter, any other language, Tamil, Telugu, uh, are you trying to find a bias over there? Unless it is a translator's job, unless that was required in the JD. I mean, was it mentioned that you're supposed to know this language? What are you trying to do by mentioning that? You're not going to write an email in Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, or any other regional languages, right? And of course, you are expected to know English and Hindi. That's like pretty much normal these days. And even if somebody who's not very fluent in English, you definitely are still going to mention that you know English. So skip that part. That is something. So these are two things that I wanted to mention. Again, coming back to your question and answering it straightforward, what are those things that somebody should be doing? First is font size. Please do not make it very big. Please do not make it very small. It has to be readable. So best would be just take a print of your resume, whatever you printed, and give it to a person who wears spectacles. okay, like your mom and dad, a little elderly person, or an uncle or an aunt or a neighboring person, and they should, if they're not struggling, it's a good enough font. If they're not struggling to read it, it's good enough. So if you don't know what is the font size, ideally 10 to 12 is a good enough font size, but still, this is one thing. Apart from that, creating blank spaces, there should not be too many blank spaces, there should not be too much of text. A one pager resume for somebody who's starting their career is good enough. Include your picture, a happy one, not a very sad one, not a very provocative one, just a happy picture of you smiling, just like this much is more than enough. Have a professional background. If not, go to Canva, remove the background if there is some party place, or and please shadi wadi ka photo nahi dalna hai. So you shouldn't be decked up like you're going to a party or you're going to be in a wedding. Not that kind of a picture. It has to be a formal picture. When it comes to address, just mention the city. You do need not give the full address. So there are a lot of things that can actually go wrong with your resume. So imagine you are sending out a resume for a professional purpose. It's not a postcard that you're supposed to send your full address. So just that much is enough. If you have any references, do mention your references, especially when you're starting out in your journey. If you can give any references of your professors, alumni, that's the best you can do, because if somebody needs to find out about you, if not from your work, they would want to have some background check or reference check. So it's a very good idea to give a reference. But of course, जिनका नाम आप दे रहे हो, please make sure they are aware that you have given their details in your resume as a reference person or point of contact. So these are the few things. And skills, of course, coming, that's one of the very important things. I always tell all my students or the mentees that, shuffle your job skills or the skills that are required for the job as per the JD. So हो सकता है JD में जितने job skills, जितने skills हैं, you might not have all of them, but you have a few of them. So please उनको shuffle करके top पे लेके आइए. And the skills that you have which are not relevant for maybe this particular job, you can list them at the bottom, towards the bottom. It should become eye catching, because आपके resume को 5-6 seconds से ज्यादा नहीं मिलता है. So you have to make the most of those 5 to 6 seconds. Yeah.
These were some really wonderful tips, because these are some of the very common things which happen, kind of talking
Yeah.
about the language or maybe the skills, address. These are very those kind of things that actually go unnoticed, and actually talking about these things is really relevant, and many people need to know about the same. Okay. So, for you, the next question would be like, what are some of the various career opportunities available for the designers today, and how can actually one establish themselves in this industry?
So, Kirti, like I said, everybody needs a designer, no matter which company, which brand it is, everybody needs a designer. So, there are plethora of options available in terms of jobs. But yes, you have to find a right one at the right time, right? And of course, a right fit for you. So, the more you start exploring, is the more you will understand how can you make a place and where for yourself. Okay. Until unless you explore. So if you're stuck to one particular job, you'll not be able to understand कि मुझे क्या करना है, या how can I get better at this? So if you're not enjoying it, you might not get better at. So that's about it. So keep exploring. When it comes to, like, if I have to list down the examples on what a designer can do, of course, designing. Then there's merchandising. Then there's visual merchandising. There's factory merchandising. There's buying. There are exports, import and export handling. Styling is an option. So for textile designers, it could be weaving, it could be printing, it could be dyeing. There are a lot of things. So if I start now on what a designer can do, we will, I think, take another half an hour to just keep listing on what a designer can do. Then, of course, the social media presence, no matter which brand or which company or whoever it is, you and me, we all are there, on social media. We are seen. And there are so many creatives, and every day we are posting something or the other. And we always feel that, oh, if I had some help, it would be better. If it was designed a little better, it definitely would reach out to more people, or it would become more eye catching. So again, there you go. You need a designer over there. So just keep exploring. Anybody can do that. Just explore a bit. So if the more you keep doing, the more you keep getting better at it. So this is something, and of course, when I say keep exploring, is start early. So फर्स्ट ईयर सेकेंड ईयर ठीक है आप शुरू में सीख रहे हो 2 साल तक शायद आप सब सीख ही रहे हो एंड बट देन once you start doing a few things with the skills that you have acquired, what you have learned is when you start actually for designer to have a portfolio also is very important. To start early, you will need a portfolio. To need a portfolio, you'll have to do something. तो जब आप एक्सप्लोर करना शुरू करोगे तो आपके पास असाइनमेंट्स भी होंगे ऑफ कोर्स सो एंड टू बी सीन इज यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर सीन people will not know about your existence. So how do you make sure you let people know that you exist? Of course, your family knows, your friends knows, your college, friends, colleagues, professors know that you exist. But how do others know? How does the professional network know that you exist? Nidhi exists, Kirti exists, and what do they do? They would not know that you're just another person on the earth who exists, right? So, but if you want to make sure that your work is seen, tell people about it, make some noise about it, right? Reach out to the relevant people, reach out to the people who are doing some work similar to yours, complementing to yours. uh, tell them about your work, compliment them on their work. How you reached out to me, Kirti, right? You made sure you made me aware about your existence, that there is something that journey teaches is something that you're doing, right? So yeah, that's about it. You have to make sure that you're seen.
Definitely. And if you are the first one to approach to the other person, it actually makes sense and it opens up a wide variety of opportunities for you.
Just one thing that I would like to add on here, that there are a lot of people who are superly scared of reaching out first on what to say, how to say. So you don't shy away from asking the right questions. Of course, you have to write and you have to ask in the correct manner. And if you have the right things to say, does there would be, out of, if you ask 10 people, at least 5 of them would say yes to me, and trust me on that. I mean, when I started my journey and I started doing my Instagram live series, out of 10, if I would ask, there would be 8 people who said yes. And the other two also would not just ghost me, they would tell me why they were not able to, or why they were not in a position to do the live with me. So that continues till date. You should be able to tell them what you can do, what is it that you're doing, and how it can benefit others, whatever you're asking, how it is not just beneficial for the two of you or maybe for others. It depends. It's all about the asking the right question.
Yeah, definitely. If you can make the other person curious, and that also
Yeah.
adds to it. Okay, so I was also curious to know about what type of opportunities does it open for you as a design career counselor. For example, recently you got featured in Economic Times as well. So would you talk about that?
All right. So I never thought I would become a career counselor. It just happened by chance. So when COVID hit and I was helping a lot of my students with, opportunities, or how to find those opportunities, or what to do when they were feeling stuck, how to build on a portfolio. That's when my journey of career counseling started. And when it did start, I realized that it is not just my students who are actually struggling with these. There are a lot of other students who are, struggling with that. And it's not just the students. I actually realized that there was a huge gap between the whole design industry, and that's why Setugram is called Setugram. So Setu means bridge and Gram is the whole community, right? So we are bridging the whole community together. So right from design graduates to design schools, to the industries, and to the artisans, of course, to the consumers. So the whole community, we are trying to bring it together by working on it. So that's how my journey started. And yes, now it's just like I recently got listed on Economic Times as a career counselor. I'm being called to a lot of design institutes for a lot of seminars. So yeah, I think it's just the start.
That's really brilliant, and there's so much creativity and innovation behind the name itself. That actually is making me a lot more excited. Okay, so any last piece of suggestion or anything from you for our viewers in terms of their designing careers?
One thing that I would say is don't shy away from doing things, exploring things, and asking. Be it a question, be it a favor, be it a network, building a network, whatever it is, just keep doing. Take one step at a time. Baby steps count too. So just keep going. Don't shy away. The moment you think for doing something, you lose it there. The moment you take a step, you've won somewhere. So keep going and keep doing things.
That's really interesting, and that's really true. If you have that dedication that you want to achieve something and you want to go ahead and do something, take that first step, and it actually makes all
Yeah.
the difference, and that's when you actually get started. Okay. So thank you so much, Nidhi ma'am, for coming here. It was wonderful to hear from you. Do you want to, give some ways so that the viewers can actually reach out to you in case they have any questions or queries?
So I'm very much active on my LinkedIn. I'm very much active on my Instagram. Website is www.setugram.com. That is another way where you can register yourself and reach out to me. There are so I have recently made a group on LinkedIn which is called Design Community. So if you are from the design background, you can join that group. If not, you can still reach out to me on my Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm just a DM away. So I never miss my DMs. Sooner or later, I always reply to them. So you will find your answer for sure.
Definitely. And I will drop all the related links in the description below for you guys to check it out. And thank you so much. It was really, really insightful. And I too got to learn so much. And thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Thanks a lot for having me, Kirti, and all the very best to you with Journey.
Thank you.